On this edition of Good Day DePaul, abortions. Women who need them are coming to Chicago.
International students. More are attending U.S. colleges, and one DePaul program is now helping them.
And linguistics. A guest professor brings it alive at DePaul. I'm Michaela Wilson.
And I'm Hannah Lopez, and this is Good Day DePaul.
Women from throughout the country keep coming to Chicago. The reason? They want and need an abortion. Good Day DePaul's Lena Gebhardt has our report.
The overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022 means abortions are more difficult to access in many American states.
Roe versus Wade, right, which was the Supreme Court decision that allowed, or should I say, secured abortion care access for people federally, right, was in many ways, and that was 1972. And ever since 1972, I will have to add, there has been a backlash against Roe v. Wade, right? So since 1972, there have been forces in the US that have been working actively to chip away at rights, particularly for women and birthing people, to have access to comprehensive reproductive health care.
Since the overturn, many women have traveled to Illinois for abortions because it's still legal here. Some neighboring states like Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Kentucky, and Indiana have more restrictive abortion policies. But even in Illinois, access to abortion varies in different parts of the state.
So in Chicago, right, people can have access to abortion care as they did before, but in other places in the state, especially downstate where, there's less, it's more rural, throughout the state where it's more rural, many rural areas still don't have the number of practitioners that they need, right? So even in a state like Illinois, you're going to have a situation where those who have less access to infrastructure, right, those especially in more rural places in the state and et cetera, are going to still have a harder time accessing this type of care, right? It is still kind of a spotty sort of thing, even in the state of Illinois. And then I'll say lastly, we have seen now that so many people are traveling to our state, right, to be able to access abortion care and other reproductive health care services, because this doesn't only impact abortion care, by the way, right? They want to come for things like contraception. They want to come for things like the morning after pill, like we've been seeing. They want to come for people that they perceive as having, induced miscarriage or something like this. So it's really having this outsized impact on our state, too, when people are coming here for services.
In response to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, providers such as Planned Parenthood Illinois have had to expand their services and programs to meet new demands. Julie Yule works for Planned Parenthood and is also a manager for a program called SAFE Project. SAFE is an acronym that stands for Securing Access for Everyone.
SAFE encompasses our strategic planning initiatives around the fall of Roe v. Wade, because it was something that we saw on the horizon coming for years prior to the decision actually getting to the Supreme Court. My role in project managing the SAFE initiatives was really around, there's a lot of data that went into it, looking at our 17 health centers around the state. What capacity did we have? How many patients could we possibly see in a given year? And then that illustrates the need to hire more staff. It illustrates the need to open new health centers in certain geographic areas. So for example, we opened our Waukegan Health Center, which is on the far north side of the state, really close to the Wisconsin border. And we've seen a huge influx of patients traveling to Waukegan from Wisconsin in order to access care. We also expanded procedural abortion services at our Champaign clinic, which is very close to the border with Indiana. So we see a lot of Indiana patients there. Ohio patients coming over. And we also just opened a new clinic in Carbondale, Illinois as well, which is way down in the southern tip of the state. And we've already seen, I want to say 90% of the abortion patients that have been seen at that clinic so far have been from other states other than Illinois. So it really just illustrates the need and how much of a key haven state Illinois is and how much of a key provider PPIL is in the landscape now.
PPIL stands for Planned Parenthood of Illinois. It provides a full range of reproductive health services, including cancer screenings, STI screenings, vasectomies, birth control, and gender-affirming hormone therapy. The organization also provides education and age-appropriate sex ed to students. Abortion bans and restrictions across the nation have impacted Planned Parenthood Illinois directly. Ewell says that since the overturn of Roe v. Wade, the overall volume of out-of-state abortion patients has increased from 5 to 25%.
Abortion bans don't stop people from having and needing abortions. Like, people will always have and need abortions. Bans just make it more difficult to access.
Dr. Mary Bowman, a nurse practitioner in Chicago who performs abortions, shares their experience.
I was in the last semester of my undergraduate degree when I got pregnant. I was very early. I knew that I wanted to have an abortion. Accessing abortion in the state of Illinois and having an abortion myself really catalyzed my interest in becoming an abortion provider and offering that care to people without judgment and with a lot of support.
Dr. Bowman explains,
there can be a million reasons to have an abortion. Maybe it was a wanted pregnancy, but you're in an abusive relationship. Maybe it was a wanted pregnancy, but you have, medical reasons why being pregnant is unsafe. Maybe it's a wanted pregnancy, but it was wanted 6 months ago and now you got evicted and like your life is changing, So all of the areas of our lives that are impacted by the political landscape, by inflation, by rising rents and the housing crisis, by unemployment, all of those things impact people's reproductive futures. Every single person that I've encountered needed an abortion because they told me they needed an abortion, and it wasn't for me to decide.
While Roe v. Wade has impacted women at both the national and local level, the Women's Center at DePaul serves as a safe space for students who need support, explains Professor Dr. Ann Russo.
The Women's Center absolutely supports women's reproductive, we have a reproductive justice kind of framework that says, everybody has a right to has a right to make decisions about whether they want to have children or not have children, that people should have access to health care.
But many in this country still oppose abortion.
We believe that every life matters. We believe that every life counts from womb to tomb.
Meanwhile, the abortion debate goes on in this country, a debate that is very difficult and emotional and may even have the potential to impact the upcoming presidential election. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Lena Gebhardt.
A key program at DePaul is taking a major step to help international students. This comes as the number of international students at American colleges continues to grow. Good Day DePaul's Princess Siafa has the details.
The United States is seeing a significant increase in international students' enrollment. More than 1 million students enrolled at universities across the country between 2022 and 2023 last year. But for many of these students arriving at universities like DePaul University, there are significant challenges to overcome as they complete their degrees. One of those challenges? Just how long they can stay in the country after graduation. The Open Doors data report from 2022-2023 showed international students arriving in the country were mostly from Asia and Europe, with a growing number now from sub-Saharan Africa. Damita Menezes is from Dubai and holds a Bachelor of Arts in Broadcast Journalism from DePaul and a Master's of Science in Broadcast Journalism from Northwestern University. She now works at News Nation in Chicago as a digital content producer.
The U.S. offers a world-class education, unparalleled education experience. And that I'm not only just talking about the curriculums in and of itself, but I'm also talking about the experience that you experience. Like, you get to interact with students from around the world. You get to learn from the best of the best in the industry.
55% of international students major in so-called STEM fields, meaning they study science, technology, engineering, and medicine. They contribute about $38 billion to the U.S. economy and create some 335,000 jobs each year. But getting those jobs is not easy. Ruth Farquharly is a graduate student from Liberia studying human-computer interaction at DePaul's College of Computing and Digital Media. She says she wasn't fully prepared for the job struggle.
So I was like, once you get a degree and you qualify, you have all of these skills, you can get on the job. You can get the job that you want. That was my mindset. I was so fixated on that. And when I graduated, I moved over to my family in Minnesota. And then I got my work permit because you have to apply for your work permit. And I got my work permit and I started to apply for different jobs. That's when reality hit.
And that reality involves many factors. First, most international students can only stay in the U.S. for 1 year after graduation. One exception to this is if these students get sponsored by an American company. But very few American companies are willing or able to sponsor international students. If students study in a STEM program, they can stay for 3 years, but only some college programs have that STEM status. Damita Menezes says many employers are scared of if you're only available to work for 1 year.
When they know that you can only work for a year, they're not going to take you because they want you to work for the full contract, right? So you can only guarantee that you're able to work for a year. And so they will, in the application, it's always going to ask you, do you need sponsorship? And if you say yes, they're not really going to consider your application.
And this becomes highly stressful for many international students. For example, after getting her undergraduate degree in business and corporate communication from Lycoming College in Pennsylvania, Ruth Farquharly said it took almost 6 months to find a contract job.
I don't want to go back to that experience, so I'm having anxiety as I'm getting there again. But it was a depressing moment because every day I would just sit in my room and just apply. Like I remember there was one time I applied for 50 jobs in a day.
Adit Jagannathan is a graduate student from India studying journalism in DePaul's College of Communication. He also holds a bachelor's degree in architectural design technology from the University of East London. He says he'll be applying for jobs next quarter before graduation.
And then I have basically till September to get a job, and it has to be in my field of graduation, basically, because 3 months after you graduate, June, July, August, September, and then after that I only have a year to work, and then I don't know. Hopefully I can stay. I'm not even sure how that's going to happen.
DePaul offers graduate and undergraduate classes that carry the STEM designation, like math, computer science, animation, and data science. But for a long time, the journalism program did not have that designation. That's about to change, according to journalism chair Professor Jason Martin.
There will be, as of August, 2 graduate degrees in the College of Communication that have this STEM designation.
Those degrees will be in journalism, digital communication, and media studies. Again, this is a major development for international journalism students because it will allow them to stay and work in the United States for 3 years instead of 1, an option that was previously not available to international students in the journalism program.
Like a lot of times, students have experiences that we're less familiar with as faculty, but when we see and hear those kinds of issues, we can look into it and try to make corrections in the service of students of doing that. And this is an example of doing that.
Martin says the new STEM status in the program will be a major benefit for international students. The International Student Office at DePaul provides programs for student engagement, including Meals with DePaul, a peer mentor program, and Global Coffee Hour. Ruth says while these are okay, the offices can only provide basic necessities and information. She encourages students to do more of their own research.
So here, your network, couple of your skills, your degree is gonna get you there. So get involved, attend some of these fairs, research a lot.
Adid graduates this coming June. He says he is in a constant state of worry.
It is. It's a really overwhelming. I try not to think about it at all, but it's tough. Especially as I get closer to graduate.
But there may be some positive news. In an email statement to Good Day DePaul, International Student Services says students graduating in June 2024 may well benefit from the STEM extension. Students in that program should talk with their International Student Services advisors to gain more information about their eligibility.
We, at the end of the day, like, even if we have to go back to our countries, we want to be able to stay and work and learn from the American way of like working and collaborating and, you know, being in big industries.
That's the dream. Hopefully, I want to settle down here. That'll be great. Imagine, imagine, like, especially in this field. Come on.
For Good Day DePaul, I'm Princess Siafa.
A distinguished linguistics professor recently spoke at DePaul about her latest findings. Good Day DePaul's Daniel Duff was there.
Members of DePaul University's Modern Language Department had the opportunity to attend a very special guest lecture on Wednesday evening. The guest, Dr. Viorica Marion, one of the most renowned and highly regarded linguistic experts in the country. Located in the McGowan South Building on DePaul's Lincoln Park campus, the lecture was centered around the cutting-edge research presented in Dr. Marion's new book. As a professor of psychology at Northwestern University and the principal investigator of the Bilingual and Psycholinguistics Research Group, Dr. Marion's research focuses on the brain activity and neurological patterns of multilingual speakers.
13% difference just from switching languages. I mean, it's really quite remarkable.
This was the first lecture that Professor Brad Hoot has ever organized. Professor Hoot is the director of DePaul's linguistics program and a colleague of Dr. Marion's. He believes that expert guest lectures, like this one, play an essential role in academics.
This is like one of the great joys of being at a university, is that you have direct access, in many cases, to the world's best experts on a given topic. And if it's somebody who can also translate their findings to a broader audience, well then, all the better.
V. Foreign, a third-year linguistics student and lecture attendee, attributes much of their interest in the talk to Dr. Marion herself.
It was awesome to watch her talk about it because the way that she talked about it and the way that she was so interested in it and so excited about it made it that much better to listen to, because it's like, oh, you really care about this and it's something that I'm interested in too, so I'm going to care about it with you and learn from you.
Dr. Marion nobly turned down her stipend for the lecture, insisting the money be used instead to purchase 20 copies of her book and raffled out to students. Her initiative, according to Professor Hoot, is to make science as accessible and inclusive as possible.
2/3 of kids in the world are growing up bi or multilingual, right? So the default setting for humans is bilingual, in fact. And instead, that's not how it's historically been treated.
Scientific research has historically lacked diversity and minority representation, a narrative that Dr. Marion hopes to change.
So I think there is an increasing push to say bilinguals need to be center to that conversation and not an afterthought. And I think that's an area where she and I undoubtedly agree.
The way that our society handles bilingualism and multilingualism, especially in like an academic setting, needs a lot of development and improvement, and it needs to be fixed and it needs to be talked about.
Dr. Marion's new book, The Power of Language, is available now. But the students at the lecture were the only ones lucky enough to get the book signed. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Daniel Duff.
Coming up in sports, DePaul's track and field athletes continue to stand out.
And the DePaul women's tennis team is on a roll. These stories and more are next on Good Day DePaul.
2004 Skateboard Championship.
High school, moped.
What about you, Slim? Anything?
Something.
Looks like Slim's got a little paper cut.
It's nothing.
Come on, man. No, I'm gonna make you tell me.
Hey, kidney transplant.
When, dude? I didn't know you were sick.
I was donating it.
Someone in your family?
You gave your kidney to a complete stranger?
Yeah, saved his life.
Wow. All right.
Everyone can save a life by being a living organ donor on matchingdonors.com.
Now a brief look at sports. In women's basketball, DePaul lost to rival Marquette 69-58. The Blue Demons are now 12-15 overall and 4-10 in the Big East. Meanwhile, there was some good news for the Lady Blue Demons. Guard Anaya Peoples was named Big East Player of the Week. This after Peoples averaged 22 points per game and 8 rebounds in 2 recent games.
In track and field, some big performances for DePaul at the Wisconsin Windy City Invite. Alex Bernstein took first place in the men's weight throw, and in doing so, set a new school record. Olivia Borowiak broke her previous DePaul record in the women's mile run. And Darius Brown took first in the 60-meter hurdle, breaking his school record.
The DePaul women's tennis team has taken 5 out of their last 6 matches, winning recently against Miami of Ohio, Northern Illinois, and Chicago State. The Blue Demons are now 5-4 on the season, and their recent success led to one of their players being honored. Hannah Smith was named Big East Singles Player of the Week after winning all 3 of her recent matches.
A rough start to the season for the DePaul softball team. They lost all 5 games in their opening series at the UNCW tournament in Wilmington, South Carolina.
Next on Good Day DePaul, DePaul will be honoring some distinguished journalists.
That story when we return.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie to matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There's something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me.
DePaul's Center for Journalism, Integrity, and Excellence is once again honoring some outstanding journalists. ABC's veteran correspondent John Quinones will receive the Distinguished Journalist Award. Quinones has won 7 Emmys for his work on 2020, Primetime Live, and Burning Questions. Rachel Hinton, a 2017 DePaul alum, will receive the Distinguished Alumna Award. Hinton is formerly the chief political reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times and is now an investigative reporter at Block Club Chicago. And Marty Wilkie will be honored with the Distinguished Mentor Award. Wilkie, a DePaul grad, was the first woman to be a general manager of WGN-TV in Chicago and the president of WBBM in Chicago. The awards will be presented at the luncheon on April 25th. That's all for this week's edition of Good Day DePaul. You can keep up with us by visiting our Vimeo channel at Good Day DePaul or by going to goodday.depaul.edu.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook.
And if you have any news tips, message us through the Good Day DePaul social media channels.
Thanks for watching. I'm Michaela Wilson.
And I'm Hannah Lopez. Have a good day, DePaul.